So for you, Herc, which MLS manager is beginning the season under the most pressure? We've got some choices, but take your shot. Anybody in the league.
Who's the first one?
He's the interim at Minnesota United.
Oh.
So I think when you start the season with an interim tag, that's
Wow. All right.
some
Okay.
modicum of pressure.
There we go. I could see why Josh Wolf is in here. I could see why people would put Greg Vanney in here. I'm going to go with Gonzalo Pineda. Come on down. Now, here's the thing with Gonzalo Pineda. Gonzalo Pineda in 2021 took over midway in Atlanta. Got to the playoffs. First round exit against NYCFC, who were eventual champions, right? We get that, okay. Well, next year, it's going to be better, right? They didn't even make the playoffs the next year. They were one of the worst defensive teams in the league. We fast forward to 2023, a really bad defensive team again. Literally only Toronto and Miami had worse defensive records in the East. That's how bad this Atlanta United team was. First round exit versus Columbus, okay? Now, I know what we're thinking here. Well, Gonzalo Pineda, Atlanta was bad. They've been bad. They were bad before Gonzalo Pineda. That's true. But in the midst of being bad with Gonzalo Pineda, Thiago Almada was the league leader in assists. He won a World Cup with Argentina. They've got a very good offensive team. Georgios Giacomakis was second place in the Golden Boot race. A guy that can change things. You expect more from this team. Very Jekyll and Hyde performances. And here's the thing with Gonzalo Pineda. He is still very green. Before this, he was an assistant coach on the Seattle Sounders. And the biggest thing of why he is on the hot seat is Garth Lagerwey, the president of Atlanta United. Now, when Garth Lagerwey went to the Seattle Sounders, Sigi Schmidt was in place, okay? Sigi Schmidt was let go in 2016, midway. Brian Schmetzer comes in. He had the interim tag, and while he's looking, the Seattle Sounders that I was part of went on a run and ended up winning MLS Cup. So he keeps Brian Schmetzer in his place. He keeps Brian Schmetzer there. Not only does he not get to choose a coach because they were successful, wildly successful in his time with Seattle Sounders, but he leaves the club and now comes to Atlanta United where there's already a coach in place, Gonzalo Pineda. What I'm trying to tell you is a coach, or excuse me, is a president and chief CEO has not gotten to put a coach in place since 2014. You know that Garth Lagerwey must be itching at the chance of making his imprint, of bringing somebody into a massive super club in Major League Soccer like Atlanta United. I think if there's anybody on the hot seat, it's Gonzalo Pineda, and for multiple factors.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Pineda hired in 2021, Lagerwey in 2022, so you just do the math there. You can see not necessarily his guy, not to say that he doesn't respect him as a coach, but not the guy that he hired, not the guy that he brought in. It is, Herc, however, the same situation with the Galaxy, right? We got Will Kuntz, who's now taken over from LAFC. He didn't hire Greg Vanney, so I really thought you were going to go with the LA Galaxy, given your LA Galaxy ways and the fact that you like to, I think, hold that club to a high standard.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go a little bit different direction here. I am going to go with Josh Wolf. Now, a lot of this just has to do with momentum. Right?
Careful.
And I don't necessarily think that Josh Wolf is a bad manager. But in terms of pressure to start the season, he's got to be at the top of the list. Let's just compare what happened in 2023 to what happened in 2022, because it was a disaster, right? You go from second in the West, Western Conference Final, to 12th in the West, 15 points fewer in the regular season. And that's just the regular season. I'm not mentioning Open Cup, where they go out round of 16 to a terrible Chicago Fire team, by the way, at home. And I'm not mentioning CONCACAF Champions League, where we all know what happened against Violet of Haiti, where they lose 3-0 away, come back and win at home, but can't get the job done at home. And you know what this show is like. You know that little segment we run at the beginning, what we call in the business the cold open. I mean, I need two hands to count the amount of times, Herc, that we've used something from We Are Austin TV, right? Those fans have been mad, especially for the last 12 months. I know at least a part of the fan base has seemingly already turned on Josh Wolf. And then to your point, Pineda is not Lagerwey's guy, right? And Vanney isn't necessarily Kuntz's guy. Well, Josh Wolf isn't Rodolfo Borrell's guy. And Rodolfo Borrell comes from Manchester City to run Austin FC. Now, he's not come to Austin FC from Manchester City to not have an impact. So if Josh Wolf gets off to a slow start here, and you've got a guy from Manchester City, and who's got a Rolodex that includes Pep Guardiola. Not saying he's going to bring Pep to Austin, but he certainly has some big names in that Rolodex. I just think it might be tough for Josh Wolf to keep that job with a guy who probably, like you said, is another one of these new GMs who wants to have an impact.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned Leagues Cup and the fracaso that was Leagues Cup, or the two Open Cups against USL competition where they get outed. But yes, you're absolutely right. Now, you mentioned Borelli. He does have somebody in his Rolodex who does have ties to City and has ties to Major League Soccer. Dominic Torrent and his style. We could see worse things being. You're absolutely right. You know, Josh Wolf had a very successful season, but he's been under pressure for quite some time, and wasn't Borelli's guy. So this could definitely be something.
Yep. And a lot of times, Herc, we know, because you're right to suggest Atlanta. A lot of that pressure is going to come from the owner. We know he has high standards, but it also comes from the fan base. If you have a fan base that is engaged and cares, that's when the seat gets hot. And I think that's definitely the case in Austin, as we've seen from our friends over there.
I can't wait till they laminate your face.
That's right.
On a quote.
That's right.
Go ahead.
I know. Austin FC is going to be laminating this segment for sure as they look for inspiration throughout the 2024 MLS season.